Hey YouTube, it's Clash1990, and today I have an Alpha Clash deck tech featuring Kilimanjaro. Let's go ahead and click on good old Kilimanjaro here. It's a power erupting. He's got 25 health, 1 attack, 0 defense. His always always turn on ability that he has is trigger attack. You may draw 1 card, then discard 1 card. If he discarded a Clash card, we will be in this deck. This contender gets +1 attack until the end of the Clash. It's very cool. Having a contender that goes up to 2 attack is pretty sweet, and this card moving around like this is tripping me out, so I'm going to not try to touch it. And once Kilimanjaro gets down to 15 health, you gain these magnitude abilities. And magnitude is the number of cards in your Oblivion. So at the start of your turn, if you have magnitude 10, your contender gains a health. If you have magnitude 15, you get to draw a card. And at magnitude 20, black alpha clash cards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So all three of those are pretty sweet, but geez, but we really want the draw card and the gain health to sort of stabilize ourselves into the late game. So if you can't tell, this is I guess you couldn't be able to tell because you didn't see everything. This is a Reanimator deck. And yeah, I love Reanimator in card games. It's what I try to do in pretty much every game I play, and I'm glad that I'm able to pretty reliably do it in Alpha Clash, actually, because it's pretty solid in Sorcery. So to start off the Clash cards, we got Coggan the Dragon. This is the main card we want to reanimate. Yes, we are going to be losing 6 life to it when we do, and I'll explain how when we get to it. But Coggan's also just great to slam on its own. We don't have to reanimate it if we don't want to, but that's the main theme of the deck that I went with when making it. It's a 6-drop, 5/5, flight. Very good just on its own right there. And trigger enter, you may send target Clash card to Oblivion. That is nuts. Dropping a 5/5 flight that also blows something up is very, very good. This is the main card we want to reanimate. This next card, Kilimanjaro Ascended Champion, is the next card we want to reanimate if we don't want to, spend 6 life to do it. This is a 4-drop, 4/4. Trigger enter, you may discard any number of cards from your hand, which is great because that fills up our magnitude. And then for each card you discarded, target Clash card gets -0 attack, -2 health. So again, getting a 4/4 body, yes, it will be engaged, but we don't really care. 4/4 body, filling up our magnitude, and killing our opponent's biggest threat is very good. Next, we have Kilimanjaro Magma Guardian. Don't necessarily want to reanimate this. We have one other card we'd like to reanimate. This is just in here because it's good. It's a 5-drop, 4/4, exclusive. And going forward with my Alpha Clash decks, anything that is exclusive, which is basically legendary for those MTG players out there, I only run 2 to 3 copies of exclusive cards in my deck, just for, I don't want it to be too redundant, but I do want to draw it. It has a trigger enter, discard a card, draw a card, very good. At the start of your turn, you may banish a card from your Oblivion. If you do, target contender loses 1 health. If that card had an initial resource cost of 4 or more, that contender loses 2 health instead. So there's a fair amount of 4-drops in this deck for that reason, or 4-drop and up, I should say. To be able to burn our opponent for 2 directly is pretty sweet. And then lastly, if you control a Kilimanjaro contender, guess what we do? Cards in your banish zone also count towards magnitude, because generally getting rid of your magnitude's not the best. Yeah, this just makes it to where we're not getting rid of our magnitude, so that's always really, really good. All right, we have this 4 copies of this 2-drop 2/2 Kilimanjaro. It's the green-black hybrid. It has bond or bound or whatever. You can only have one of them in your resource zone, so resource one of them, and then display the other 3 as just, chump blockers, early aggression, whatever you want it. Got 4 copies of Pestilence, Devious Servant. Really like this card. It's a 4-drop, 0/4. Again, as exclusive. It gains +1 attack for every card in your hand. And as trigger attack, if you have 3 or fewer cards in your hand, draw a card. It's mainly why it's in here, because we're discarding our cards from our hand quite often. We need ways to refill our hand so we're not just sitting there hell-benting it up. So this is a good way to get those cards back. Then at the end of your turn, if you have 7 or more cards in your hand, ready another target Clash card you control. This hardly ever comes up. In fact, I have never been able to trigger that ability, but it would be cool to untap a Coggan after we reanimate it, or after it's attacked or whatever. But this is just a solid blocker, and it can be a good attacker that also draws us cards, which is always good. Next, got 4 copies of Pestilence the Infectious, probably one of the better green cards in the game. It is a 1-drop, 2/1. Trigger enter. Target clash card gets -2/-2 until end of turn. That's very solid, killing out that early game while also building up your early board presence. Very, very good. If the portal is closed, you discard a card. Typically, that is a downside. Yeah, Kilimanjaro doesn't care about the portal being closed. It doesn't care about discarding. Well, I mean, it cares about the portal being closed, but discarding a card we don't care about. That's totally fine. Discarding our Reanimator targets is always pretty solid. And then the last Clash card we run is another card that I really, really like, and that's Rizlax Ferocious Threat. It's a 3-drop, 2/3, though we'll never be playing this for 3. During your primary phase, you can discard this card. If you do, activate the portal. So activate it for free is solid, especially in Gambit. And during your primary phase, you may pay 2. If you do, put this card into play from your Oblivion. If it entered play this way, banish it whenever it would leave play. So typically, it costs 2 to activate the portal just normally. Rizlax is saying pay 2, activate the portal, and get a 2/3. So yeah, this card's sweet. I freaking love that card. Like, this card's gonna be so good in Gambit when that's like officially a thing for black decks. So good. All right, we're going on to the action cards. And I Am Demise is our main Reanimator target. It's why I built the deck. And yeah, let's just get on into this. It's a 3-drop basic action. We don't have Death as our contender, so ignore that first part. You send target Clash card you control to Oblivion, and if you do, send target Clash card you don't control to Oblivion. So you're trading a card for a card off of playing a card, so you're kind of 2 for 1ing yourself, but doesn't matter. All of our stuff that dies, we're just going to bring it back anyway. So, like, ideally, you'd want to get rid of a Pestilence the Infectious to trade for, like, a 5 power card or 5 cost card or whatever, upping your value there. Then, if the portal is open, which it will be because of Rizlax, you may put a Clash card without Unrivaled from your Oblivion into your Clash zone engaged. If you do, your contender loses health equal to that card's initial resource cost. So, little thing that I like to do in this deck is play a Pestilence, blow something up on like turn 2 or whatever. And then turn 3, you discard Rizlax, activate the portal. If your Pestilence is still in play, which it should be if you didn't attack with it, play I Am Demise after you have like discarded Koggin, and get rid of the Pestilence, blow up one of their dudes. I Am Demise will get Koggin, which then triggers its enter ability, because this stuff does trigger enter. Koggin blows something else up, and then now you have a 5/5 flight. Yes, it's engaged. Whatever. You just kill 2 of their stuff right off the bat, and you have a 5/5 flight that they are going to have to deal with. And now you have a Pestilence in your discard pile for this next card, which is the Clash buff of the deck. It is Restoration. You can only play it if your contender is black. It is. And target Clash card, or contender, target contender. Wow, the tongue twister. Or a Clash card you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then you may put a Clash card with an initial resource cost of 1 or less from any Oblivion into your Clash zone engaged. So yeah, that Pestilence the Infectious we got rid of for I Am Demise to get this out. We now get it back and blow something else up again. So it's a lot of just recycle, reduce, reuse, blow crap up kind of a theme with this deck. It's cool how all of this really just ties in together very neatly. Got 4 copies of Resurging Fire. It's a 2-cost basic action. Target opponent discards 1 card. That alone is good because late game, your hand's pretty diminished. Only drawing 1 card a turn while also using cards in your hand as resources, your hand gets pretty thin pretty fast. So that alone is just solid. Then you may play up to 1 target card from their Oblivion this turn by paying its resource cost using resources of any color. If the card played by this effect would leave play, banish it instead. So you shred a card out of their hand, you use their best card in their discard pile. This is like almost a Reanimator card, but against your opponent. Like using their cards to reanimate. Yeah, Resurging Fire is solid. Next, I have a card that's not very synergistic with the deck, but it's one that's definitely needed. It's Magnate's Plan. It's a 2-drop, and it simply says send target accessory to Oblivion. So if you're unfamiliar, there's this white card called Interfering with the Process, I believe. It's an accessory, and it says trigger enter abilities don't trigger, like they don't happen. Um, yeah, all of these except for this and this, and I guess this. Our main stuff is all enter. That one accessory just kills this deck. This straight up kills this deck. So we need to play a card to get rid of that thing because it's really bad if our opponent plays it and we have no answer to it. So that is exactly why that's in here. Now going on to the Clash Grounds, we have 3 copies of 2 of them. Both of them are very good in here. We have 3 copies of Amazon Rainforest. As trigger, enter, draw a card, and then during the draw step of each player's expansion phase, they draw 1 additional card, then discard a card. So lots of card draw, filling up that magnitude, and it's only a 1-drop. So it's mainly in here to get rid of our opponent's Clash Grounds if they're playing them. Well, probably going to be playing them. But like them having a victory peek out for multiple turns sucks, so being able to kill it for 1 cost is pretty efficient. And then the main Clash Ground we want is Molten Crag. 2-drop. Trigger, enter, discard a card, then put up to 1 target Clash card with an initial resource cost of 3 or less from your Oblivion into your hand. So we can get the Pestilence, the Infectious back to keep recycling the blowing up the chief stuff. And whenever a player discards 1 or more cards, if there are 10 or more cards in their Oblivion, they draw a card. So it's really key with Kilimanjaro to play cards that draw you cards. Because like he does it on his own, but you're going to be shredding through your hand pretty fast. And you need ways to slowly get it back. You know, you want to be drawing 2 cards a turn in this deck more often than not. And then to round out the deck, I do play 4 traps in here, and it's Purging Heat, and it's a 1-cost trap, and it says counterattack, discard a non-clash card from your hand, then target opponent reveals their hand, choose a non-clash card, that player discards that card. So it's almost like a Thoughtseize type of effect, and yeah, it's good. Trading a card in your hand, filling up your magnitude to take your opponent's best removal spell out of their hand and get rid of it is pretty good. So anyway, that is the Kilimanjaro Reanimator deck. If you like this deck, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any suggestions or your thoughts, let me know. Again, this is not a competitive deck. This is more of like a Gambit deck or just like a casual locals type of a deck. If I was taking this to a main, like a main competitive event, I would tweak it up quite a bit. I would definitely cut some copies of this. And might keep that in here. Maybe trim this guy down by a copy or 2. Maybe replace this with something. And yeah, it would be a little different. The main theme could still work, but it would be a little different. But for casual stuff, I think this deck is solid. I think it'll do really well. And especially in the Gambit format, I think this card's going to be pretty cool. You just have to make sure the majority of your portals are open in order to get I Am Demise to trigger. But that's not too bad. Free portal activation here and just pay 2 like a peasant. You'll get there just fine. So anyway, I'll have a deck list in the description down below, but just in case if you don't want to like copy it, I'll just scroll through the deck one more time. There we go. And I started a Discord, so I'll have a link for it in the description down below. Come join the Discord. I'm trying to grow that community. It's very small right now, but I'm looking to start weekly or monthly, locals events and stuff. And I'll be doing giveaways on my channel there once there's more people. And yeah, it's just where everything's going to be happening for me and my channel. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya.